Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rugby Paper Roundup. I'm your host, Charlie. I'm joined by Cam, as I so usually am. Cam, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good. Looking forward to the penultimate round of the Premiership playoff race heating up. We've got some good games as well. Lots of playoff implications in some head-to-head matchups, which would be a good watch.
Yeah, which is pretty much what we're going to talk about today. A bit of the Championship stuff after the new rebrand, but mostly it'll be going through the Premiership games and what we think is going to happen and the implications.
Yeah, so I think first up tonight, obviously the big one at the AJ Bell Sale Bristol. I saw your write-up earlier. It's essentially win or go home for both sides. I think Bristol need it slightly more in terms of how the fixtures play out. Obviously in third at the moment and 3 points ahead of Sale, but you look at Sale's home record, they've only lost once all season, and that was to Bath in the league, and then so been their only home loss in the league since January 2024. So I think it'll be tough for Bristol tonight. But if they manage to even get 2 points out of it, that'll be massive going into the final round.
And I mean, you say it's win or go home, but Saracens are obviously the next in the hunt, and they do have Saints away, so it's not necessarily a given. And Saints have put out a pretty strong side, so it is obviously a massive game, but I think, yeah, we'll get to Saracens later anyway. But yeah, no, huge game, clash of styles as well in many ways. Obviously, Bristol fast, expansive, that sort of thing. Sale physical, set piece dominant, that kind of thing. So
it always feels like Bristol when they play a team like Sale, who are very defensive, dominant, don't play in their own half much, and sort of try and strangle teams. They seem to struggle, especially away from home as well. So I'd be very, very surprised if Bristol got a result tonight. I can't see anything but Sale getting at least 4 points, probably 5. And if they do that, I think they'll be in really, really good stead for a top 4 spot.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I can't quite see Sale getting 5 points, to be honest, but I can see them win it. No, I think it will be a tight game. I think Sale will strangle Bristol physically and just overpower them. But I think Sale might not have loads going forward, or at least enough to get 4 tries.
I'm just looking at the table here. So Sale obviously have Bristol tonight and then Exeter away tomorrow. And given Exeter's form this season, you'd expect Sale another win. So I think even if they get at least 8 points from those 2 games, which I think they will, they'll be in.
No, exactly.
I mean, it all hinges on tonight for them. If they do lose to Bristol, that really puts them in a tough spot. But I think going into next week, they should be in a decent spot for that top 4. And then, as you say, it will come down to Sarries and Bristol for that last spot.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, Sale did beat them 38-0 at Ashton Gate earlier on in the season, so that's a good omen for them, considering Sale aren't the best away from home normally. So,
yeah, very true.
Yeah,
I think that other one, I think Gloucester obviously in with a shout still. They're on 46 points, so 3 behind Sale. And if they manage to they got Newcastle away as the other game tonight, obviously. So if they manage to get 5 points from that, which is a must, and then they've got Saints at home next week. So obviously still in with a chance, but I think even with 10 points, that'll get them up to 56. They'll need 2 of either Bristol, Sale or Sarries not to get a 57 or above, which I can't really see happening. So I think Gloucester are struggling, even if they do get maximum points from their last 2 games. They'll need an upset somewhere.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I mean, I think that brings us nicely on to the Gloucester game being the other Friday night kickoff. What do you reckon is going to happen there?
I think Newcastle will be able to strangle them a little bit. I do expect a response from Gloucester after last week, the big game at Twickenham, and they didn't really show up or fire a shot in a game that would have been enormous for them if they'd won that. If they'd won that game, it changes the playoff picture this week a whole lot. That really would have put things in their hand to take it by the horns. So I do expect a response. I expect a win as well. It should really be 5 points given the way Newcastle are going. I still have it in my head that Newcastle's a tough place to go, and they strangle people and they make it a tight game, which isn't normally the case. But I think it'll be maybe fairly close, maybe within sort of 15. But I think we'll still 5 points.
Yeah, I mean, I think Newcastle need a response as well after the Saracens game. That was a massive defeat.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kingston Park doesn't seem like quite the fortress that it has been, and I think a lot of the time as well, the weather plays into it. A cold, rainy Friday night up north is never easy, but obviously
it always gets into my head. Sound fender blasting before kickoff. It's cold. It's dire up there, and I think teams just don't want to play there. But it's not really the case anymore.
Especially when it's a nice evening, like it probably is up there tonight. Yeah, I agree. I can't see anything apart from a Gloucester win. Did you say by 5?
I said 15.
Oh, 15. I was going to say 5 seems a bit tight. Yeah, I'd probably go around that as well.
Within a couple of
scores, maybe. But
I don't think it'll be like we saw last week with Sarries, but
nah, definitely not.
I think it should be fairly routine.
Yeah, and then obviously onto the Saturday games, we've got Bath against Leicester.
Top of the table clash. I saw again in your write-up potential preview of the final, which definitely could be the case. It looks like Leicester are going to wrap up that second spot. Obviously, Bath are going to get top spot home semi-final. They've gone full noise for this one, which is interesting because Johan van Graan rested a load of his first teamers last week, and I suspect he'll do the same for the final round, which means he's chosen to, in the final 3 weeks, to target this one game with all of his first teamers. So it makes you think that he's sort of expecting another matchup against Leicester at some point down the line in the playoffs. But they've just been the best team this season by a mile, haven't they? It's just the depth and strength of their side, and they've really gelled. It should be a good game. I can't see Leicester doing it on the road, but it would be a good preview of potentially what's to come in a final.
Yeah, because I mean, Tigers will more than likely finish second, if not third. I can't see them finishing fourth and having to play Bath in a semi-final. So, Tigers are a good. I think they have gone under the radar a little bit with all the noise surrounding everything else. Obviously, with the new head coach announcement, Parling, that could play into it a little bit. Players, obviously, they've got quite a lot of outgoings, but the players that are actually staying might want to make a statement of some sort. It might sort of give them a bit of a rocket potentially 100%. In terms of wanting to impress their new boss.
100%. Well, there's that factor, and then also the fact of you're playing top of the league, you're playing the team that everyone is tipping to win. You want to try and prove something. You want to try and ruffle some feathers. They've got Newcastle at home next week, so you'd expect them to get a win there, which would secure them second spot home semi-final. It'll be a good game Saturday in the sun as well. It'll be a good one.
Yeah, I'd back Bath as well, reluctantly, but could be a preview of a final though. And with knockout rugby, you never know what could happen. So
exactly,
but on to the other Saturday game. We've got Northampton Saints against Saracens. What do you reckon about that one?
That's going to be tight. That is going to change a lot of playoff implication because if Sarries manage to get a win there, they're in a really good spot, and I think it's sort of. Presuming Sale win tonight is sort of kills Bristol's hopes a little bit.
It'll put them above Bristol, won't it?
Yeah, so they're 3 behind Bristol at the moment. On bonus points, etc. They'd be level going into the final week. And just looking at who they have. Sarries have Bath at home, who you think might rotate for the final week. So it's a massive game. And Northampton obviously got all their first teamers back, their Lions in the starting lineup. They're not going to want to lose to Sarries at home, especially after the season they've had. Disappointing one. So it really hinges on that game for the top 4 battle. Yeah,
and Saints are on a good run of form when they've actually got their full strength team. Even in the Premiership, like they've put in some good performances recently when they've actually had the players available. So
definitely, the only thing I'm worrying about is there an eye on obviously Champions Cup final next week? Are they going to start pulling their big guns a bit early, or just they've just
Yeah.
got an eye on it and looking past Sarries a little bit because their domestic season's done and they obviously have everything to play for next weekend in Cardiff. And Sarries obviously need to get something out of it for their top four.
Yeah, you'd expect it to be a good atmosphere, though, given that it's the first home game since Leinster and obviously before the final.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that could play
it's
into
hard
it.
to tip. I always lean towards the home sides in those sorts of games, and Saints' form as well. I'll go Saints by 3.
Yeah, I'll go on the other side and go Sarries by 5.
Okay, make it interesting.
Because I just think they've got more to play for. So when it comes to kind of the last 20 minutes or whatever, they're going to proper want to put it in, whereas Saints will sort of be on the beach almost.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. And the last game, probably the game with the least riding on it, Harlequins against Exeter Chiefs. Obviously, Danny Care's last game, but aside from that, not too much riding on whether anyone wins. So
no, it should be a fun game though. Fun game,
yeah.
Sunday in the sun. Obviously, classy touch. Danny Care coming off the bench, but still wearing the number 9 jersey.
Yeah, that's nice to see.
Synonymous with that jersey. No one's worn it more, and maybe never will for Quins. Yeah, last home game that'll be a good atmosphere. Obviously, yeah, as you say, nothing to play for really. I did see the supercomputer playoff predictions.
Less than 1%, wasn't it?
Less than 1% chance. So you never know. The fat lady's not singing yet, but
yeah.
No, that'll be just an entertaining game, good day out, and a good way to celebrate Danny Care's final home game.
Yeah, exactly. And it's in a way it's kind of nice that they've not got much to play for, because it's almost you can just enjoy the game without worrying too much about what's actually happening. You can bring on Danny Care nice and early or whenever you want, and he'll get a proper ovation, and it will really be about him.
And Quins will throw it about as well.
Yeah,
that'll be a good watch.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, what do you reckon score-wise then?
Quins to get 50, and Danny Care to score off the bench, I reckon.
I think Danny Care will score off the bench.
Yeah,
it's written
Quins by double digits, lots of points. Danny Care I can see it now. Caden Murley running through line break and trying to. He's over the line and still trying to find Danny Care. I can see that happening.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it'll be quite a high scoring one from both teams, but yeah, I'd back Quins. And I mean, the other news this week, the Championship's rebranding to Champ Rugby. What do you reckon about all of that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the biggest question is they've obviously done the whole rebrand and made a point of saying the playoffs are going to be back next season, playoff relegation, but we haven't had any sort of confirmation or statement from Premiership Rugby about it. And obviously the minimum standard criteria is still in place, but that rebrand sort of makes it seem like playoffs are back and relegation's back in the Premiership, and there's going to be promotion, but obviously I haven't heard anything. I do like the rebrand, 14 teams. I know there's been a lot of contention around Worcester getting parachuted straight back into the Championship, but it's good to see Worcester back, and obviously announced a few signings already. Matt Kovacic coming back, Josh Bassett back, and I think they're going to do B. Allo tonight, given based off the clues they've given so far. So it'll be good to see them back, and then Chinner obviously coming up as well. It's a hefty schedule with 14 teams, but obviously no Prem Rugby Cup games for them anymore, which is a shame, but plays into how the schedule will look.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I could see, the minimum operating standards, or whatever they're called for the grounds, they run until the end of the 25-26 season for now. Obviously, they're more than likely they'll extend like what they are, but that might provide a chance for them to sort of have a different look at them. But as far as I could see, at least until the end of next season, they're still in place. So
yeah, but we need promotion and relegation again. We can't have a ring fence league. It's just there's no jeopardy at the end of the season. It'd be really interesting if there was actually. If we had a playoff game with Newcastle and then the Championship winner, coming up, it'll make things so interesting. But no, it's a good rebrand, Champ Rugby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think the gap between the Champ and the Prem's way too much. I think I'd back Newcastle against any of them, apart from possibly Worcester, depending on who they sign and how much of the old guard they kind of bring back.
Yeah, you never know in a one-off relegation game, though. We've seen in the Prem Cup, obviously, some rotated teams, but we've seen Championship sides, come and beat Premiership sides. Obviously, we were saying before, they called Doncaster beating Sale away from home, and there was a few other results as well. So you never know.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think it is a step in the right direction, and the playoffs being back is definitely good. Because hopefully it brings more eyes and more jeopardy to the end of season for them when now there's not too much to play for.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I think that wraps us up for this week. Thank you very much for coming on, Cam.
No worries.
Yeah, really enjoyed that. So thank you very much. Make sure to like and subscribe. And yeah, really appreciate you listening. Cheers.